If you want to run your Airbnbs like an actual business, then you need to open these 5 bank accounts. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly what these 5 accounts are and how to set them up.
We are the Real Estate Robinsons.
What's up, everyone? If this is your first time here, I'm Tony, and I'm a real estate investor who quit my day job by investing in Airbnbs, and I'm here to show you how you can do the same. Now, usually my beautiful wife Sarah's here with me at the studio, but today I'm riding solo, so if you came for her pretty face, I'm sorry to disappoint you. But when you think about buying your first Airbnb, tell me, what actually comes to mind? Maybe it's choosing the right city, analyzing a bunch of properties to find the perfect one, designing your property and adding all these cool amenities, or creating cool experiences for your guests. And obviously, hopefully, seeing the profits come in. But one thing that doesn't get talked about enough? It's managing your cash flow and keeping a clean set of books. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you the 5 bank accounts you need for your Airbnb business, the purpose of each account, and how much money you should allocate to each account on a monthly basis. Now, this strategy of these 5 bank accounts I didn't create myself. It comes from a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. So if you really want the inside scoop on how to set this up, go grab that book. But this is how I've applied it to our Airbnb business. So let's dive in. The first account you need is your income account. The purpose of this account is to simply collect all of the income for your Airbnbs. So this is the account where all of your deposits from Airbnb and Vrbo and any direct bookings will go. Now, in an ideal situation, you'll create a separate income account for each property. It makes managing your books way easier, trust me. If you have multiple Airbnbs tied to the same bank account, Airbnb will actually combine the payouts for all of those properties into one deposit into your bank. Then you'll have to go back and separate those deposits between all of your properties. So here's an example. Say you have John staying at property A, and John pays you $100 to stay at property A. Then say you have Sam staying at property B, and Sam pays you $200 to stay at property B. When Airbnb deposits your money into your bank account, instead of having one deposit for $100 and a second deposit for $200, you just get one big deposit for $300. And then you have to go into your bookkeeping software and manually split that deposit into a first deposit of $100 and a second of $200. This becomes super time consuming as your portfolio scales. So honestly, trust me, skip the headaches, create a separate income account for each property. The second reason it's helpful to create a separate account for each property is because it helps gauge the performance of each property in your portfolio in real time just by glancing at your bank account. Now, we've got tons of metrics that we track in our business, but opening my Relay bank account app and seeing at a glance how we're doing cash wise for each property is a quick and easy way to see if any property is lagging behind. So in terms of allocation, the income account is actually special because you actually don't want to allocate anything to this account at all, because we're sweeping all of the money out of this account, out of the income account, and into the other 4 accounts. So the income account will always hit 0 at the end of each month. So that was the first of 5 bank accounts you'll need, and we'll go through the other 4 and show you exactly how to set these up inside of Relay. But first, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. Do you feel like you need someone to work with you side by side as you buy that first Airbnb? Someone who's done it plenty of times before themselves and can give you the exact process to follow. If you've been thinking about buying your first Airbnb for a while, but you feel stuck in that analysis paralysis, then me and my team are here to help. We have a few spots open in our Airbnb mentorship program called Alpha Host Academy. And inside of Alpha Host, we'll give you our exact process for choosing the right city for you to invest into using what's called our market matching matrix. We'll give you a proven framework for analyzing properties through what's called our Pro Analyzer process. And then we'll give you all of our processes and tools and standard operating procedures for setting up your Airbnb and managing it on a daily basis. Now, when you join our community, you'll get a mix of one-on-one coaching, group coaching, on-demand content, done-for-you deal analyzers, and really our goal is to help you confidently buy your first Airbnb. So if you're interested in booking a totally free discovery call to learn more, then head over to alphahostacademy.com. Now, the second account you need to set up is your operating expenses account, or your OpEx account for short. Now, you'll use your OpEx account to literally pay for everything related to your Airbnb. You'll pay your mortgage from this account. You'll pay your utilities out of this account. You'll pay your cleaners and your handyman from this account. When a guest breaks a glass or your dishwasher stops working, you'll pay for those repairs with the OpEx account as well. Basically, any and every expense related directly to the property comes out of your OpEx account. And same thing here, we actually want to set up one OpEx account for each property. So each property has its own OpEx. So since the OpEx account is where all of your expenses get paid from, it's obviously important that this account always needs to have enough money in it. So you want to make sure that there's enough cash in here at the beginning of every month to cover your mortgage and everything else. So when it comes to allocation, the goal for your OpEx account is to start high with this account and then drop it down over time. Now, depending on your property and when you're launching, you might need to start as high as 70 or 80%. So say, for example, that your property's in a ski resort town that's really only busy from like November to February, and you're launching your Airbnb in July, right? Middle of slow season. You'll probably need to be at 80%, and then you can drop it down over time as you get into busy season. But I definitely wouldn't want you to start any lower than 50%. It can be tempting to start lower, especially if you're launching in busy season and there's just a bunch of cash coming in. But remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So start higher and pull it down over time. The third account you need is your reserves account. Now, your reserves account is your rainy day fund. This is the account you go to when big things happen that your normal OpEx account won't cover. Things like replacing a roof or repairing major water damage due to flooding or buying a new garage door, and really just all of the other big stuff that happens. Now, it also comes in handy in case you need to maybe temporarily shut down your Airbnb. We've had a few instances where we had to shut down our properties for sometimes a couple of days, at one point a couple of months. Once we had to fumigate our property and we couldn't have any guests there for like a week. And another time we had an issue with the permit and we had to actually shut our listing down for months while we were fighting with the county. So reserves are important. Now, you'll also want to create a separate reserves account for each property. And last thing to note here, try and be disciplined with this account. Once the money goes in, don't touch it unless you absolutely positively have to. This is your emergency fund for your Airbnb, not, I really want to buy this thing fund. Now let's talk about how much money to allocate towards this account. Because the revenues on Airbnbs are higher than your traditional long-term rental, setting aside even a small percentage of your revenue can lead to, honestly, a lot of money saved up over the course of an entire year. So our recommendation to allocate towards the reserves account is to put somewhere between 5% and 10% of your property's income as reserves for your property. If you've got a house that was built 100 years ago, maybe you need to put a little bit more. And if you have a house that's brand new construction, then maybe 5% is a good number for you. Now, while reserves are super important and you want to make sure you're saving money for a rainy day, you also don't want to let this account get too big, because now you've got a bunch of cash that's really just collecting dust. We've all seen what's happened with inflation as of late, so you can understand how having a bunch of money in cash just sitting in your bank account can actually work against you. So a good rule of thumb when it comes to reserves is that you want at least 3 months of your mortgage payment set aside, and probably no more than like 12 months. And a good kind of middle number is somewhere in that 6 range. Now, each person has their own risk level. If you're someone who's maybe extremely risk averse, then maybe you want more than 12 months. If you're someone who's a little more comfortable with risk, then maybe you're fine with 3. The actual number isn't as important. What's really important is that you have a number, you actually have a number, and that you cap it at something. Because we just don't want this account to grow forever and you be in a position where you could be using that money instead of just sitting in your savings to go buy your next property. Now, the fourth account you need is your profit hold account. Now, this is the exciting account. This is the account that pays you as the owner of the property for all the hard work you put in and day out. This is the money that you get to do with whatever it is you want to do with. You can use it to buy your next Airbnb. You can use it to fund your dream vacation. You can use it to fund your kids' college tuition. You can pull out the cash and swim in it if you want to. This money is yours. It's the result of all of your hard work. Now, one last thing that's super important to note about the profit account, once you have money in there, never take it out unless it's for a disbursement for profits. The only time the money leaves the account is when you're paying yourself at the end of the quarter. Having this discipline to leave the money helps to make sure that your business is actually profitable. Now, the goal here, again, is to start small. When I first read Profit First, I set my profit percentages at like 50% to some of my properties. And while that number might have worked well during busy months, it didn't work as well during the slower months. So I found myself having to go back and pull that number down during the slower seasons for some properties. So I actually had the opportunity to interview the author of Profit First on my podcast. And he told me the simplest thing to do is to start with your profit allocation at 1%. He said every business should be able to operate on 99% of your revenue. And if you can't operate on 99%, then there's probably some other issues you should be dealing with anyway. So since he shared that with me, that's my advice to everyone else, right? Start at 1%. then reassess every couple of months to see if you feel comfortable increasing that number. And obviously, don't go from 1% to 60%. Go from 1% to 3 or 5. Make small incremental changes that won't force you to kind of pull that number back down later. Once your property is actually stabilized, you can probably fall somewhere in that 30 to 40, sometimes even maybe 50 or 60% range, depending on your property, depending on your market. Now, the fifth and final account you need to create is your tax account. Now, you've heard the famous quote probably from Benjamin Franklin that says, "Nothing is certain except for death and taxes." He said that back in the 1700s and it still rings true today. As you build your Airbnb business, you're going to have to pay taxes, possibly, most likely. Now, I'm not a CPA, so don't take what I'm about to say as official tax advice. And while it's true that the tax code gives real estate investors tons of opportunities to not pay taxes, there is still a chance that your Airbnb business might result in at least some taxes due at the end of the year. Now, instead of freaking out and scrambling to pull together the money you need to pay your tax bill, just put aside a little money each and every month. That way, when your tax bill finally does come due, all you have to do is write a check from your tax account. The most important thing with this account is that once you put the money in here, never take it out. And last, just like the profit account, we create one tax account for the entire business. So at a property level, each Airbnb has its own income account, and then each property's income account moves money into a single tax account for the entire business at a business level. Since every single person watching this video has a slightly different tax situation, it's hard to give an exact number on what your tax allocation should be. I know a lot of very successful real estate investors who don't pay anything in taxes because they understand the tax code and take full advantage of the tax breaks that real estate investors get. But even with that, you still want to put aside some money for taxes. And if you're lucky enough to not have to pay taxes, then this becomes free money. You do with it whatever you want. But the lowest amount you want to put aside for taxes, I'd say at least to start with, is about 10%. So those are the 5 bank accounts you need for your Airbnb business. Now, in a second here, I'm going to share my screen and I'm literally going to show you exactly how to set your bank accounts up inside of Relay. But first, I'd really appreciate if you could give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell for notifications. We mean it when we say every new subscriber really does mean a lot to us. And we're at 45K right now as of this recording. And our goal is to double that and get to 100K by the end of the year. So if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe, turn on notifications. We're also hosting an event. So if you want to, learn live 3 days, all things Airbnb investing, head over to strsummit.com. This is a 3-day in-person event where you're going to learn from me, you're going to learn from Sarah, you're going to learn from a lot of our successful friends in this industry. You're going to learn about tax strategy, you're going to learn about tiny homes, you're going to learn about raising private capital, finding off-market deals, managing your rehabs. All of the steps to go into really building a truly successful Airbnb business will be covered at this event. So again, head over to strsummit.com. And for all of our subscribers, if you use the promo code WINNER, you'll get a pretty massive discount off of your ticket. Now, guys, tickets are limited. We do expect this event to sell out. So move fast, get your tickets now. We'll see you at that event. And it's June 23rd through the 25th in Denver, Colorado. So now that you understand what the 5 bank accounts are and why they're so helpful to your Airbnb business, let's talk about how to actually set them up. Now, first, you've got to open up a business bank account. 100%. Do not just use your personal bank account. I can say from experience that it will make your life 1,000 times harder if you start mixing personal expenses with your Airbnb business expenses. If you keep your personal and your Airbnb transactions all mixed into the same account, you're going to have a literal nightmare on your hands when it comes to tax time. And again, I'm speaking from experience. If you have your personal and your business stuff mixed, it gets really difficult to just really accurately identify which charge is personal and which is business. And if your bookkeeping is off, then you could end up missing the chance for certain write-offs, deductions, or worse, you could mess up so badly that you end up getting audited by the IRS, which is what no one wants. So bookkeeping is already labor intensive. Don't make it even worse by forcing yourself to sift through all of your bank statements, trying to remember whether or not that one charge from Amazon 6 months ago was for your Airbnb or for, the bathroom downstairs. Don't give yourself that additional headache. All right, so now that you understand why you need a separate business bank account, let's talk about which business banks you should go with. We use Relay. And we literally recommend this bank to anyone that's looking to start their own Airbnb business. We have tried several other business banks before landing on Relay. We used Novo, Bluevine, Capital One, Bank of America, local credit unions. We tried so many I can't even remember. But Relay is the perfect bank to implement the 5-account strategy we just went over. And it's actually the only bank that is a certified profit-first partner. It's literally built to support this banking style. And luckily for you, we have an awesome bonus for all of our subscribers. If you head over to the referral link that's in the description of this video, you'll get a cash bonus if you deposit at least $50 into your account. Now, there are 6 features that make Relay, again, the perfect tool to execute what you just learned in this video, and just really as you're running your Airbnb business in general. Now, in a moment here, I'm actually going to open up Relay and walk you through those 6 features, but let me just explain them here first quickly. The first feature, and this is the biggest, is Relay's auto transfer rule. Guys, this is a game changer. With the auto transfer rule, you can automate pretty much everything we just talked about. So within our Relay accounts, every month on the 25th, Relay automatically transfers all the money out of our income accounts and into the other accounts based on the allocation percentages that we chose. So like clockwork, our income account gets emptied out, our tax accounts, our profit accounts, and all the other accounts get filled up, and there's zero work you have to do other than setting it up the first time. This is why we separate our income account from our expenses. It makes the auto transfer possible. The second feature that we love about Relay is that you can open a lot of accounts with them. As of right now, you can create up to 30 separate accounts for each LLC that you have. Now, a lot of other business banks we tried before Relay would limit us to like 3 accounts. And it just doesn't work with this, especially as you start to scale in the way that we do. You need a lot of accounts. Each property needs its own OpEx account. Each property needs its own reserves account. So you can see how we started to kind of stack these accounts together as the portfolio grew. The third feature is that there's no stupid monthly maintenance fees or account minimums that you need to hold. I literally hate when banks charge these stupid fees. Like really Bank of America to cost you $15 per month just to keep my account open. Relay, on the other hand, doesn't charge you a single penny for having an account open with them. And even if your account has a 0 balance, you still don't have to worry about them charging you. So that's a huge one. No monthly fees, no minimums, no junk fees. One of the other features that really made us fall in love with Relay is the ability to send same-day ACH payments to vendors and literally anyone else that you want to send money to. Before, we would use Venmo to process all of our payments, but Venmo's kind of tough to run for a business for a few reasons. First, and this was a big reason we hated using Venmo, is because there are weekly limits on how much money you can send. And when you're paying cleaners and handymen, you hit those limits pretty fast. So we were constantly in scramble mode trying to pay from my Venmo account, from Sarah's, from our partners' business accounts, or Venmo's accounts, and it was just pure chaos. Almost every week, each one of us was like hitting this limit. Then we'd have to, tail between our legs, go tell our team members that we couldn't pay them until next week when this limit cleared. So it was a big issue. Second, you can only add a limited number of payment methods to Venmo. So again, we have dozens of accounts across our portfolio, and we were constantly having to add and remove payment methods so that we were able to pay from the correct accounts. With Relay, we've pretty much replaced Venmo altogether. Relay allows you to pay any person that you want on a regular basis, and it sends them an email invite which takes them to a secure page that person can enter their own payment details. And from there, you're able to log into your account and you can send them payments at any time you want, and it shows up same day. The fifth feature we love about Relay is the ability to add team members with varying levels of controls and access to your account. We can give our bookkeeper, who's based overseas, read-only access to our bank accounts. So she has access to all the information she needs to do her job as our bookkeeper, but she doesn't have the ability to make payments or make transfers or withdraw money or do anything other than look at what's going on inside of the bank accounts. Then we have a bookkeeper here stateside and a CPA, and we're able to give them a different level of access so they get a little bit more control over the account and they can do things that help them do their jobs. So the beauty of this is that we don't have to share passwords, we don't have to share usernames or any other personal or sensitive information. We just add them as users, and then they get the access that's specific to their role in our business. Now, the sixth and final feature that we love about Relay is that they give you the ability to create virtual debit cards. For our properties, I'd say 99% of the time when we buy something, we purchase online, which means we never have to actually swipe a card. The only time I can think that we swipe is if Sarah goes shopping when we're setting a property up. Sometimes she'll go to Home Goods or wherever and buy the flake plants and things like that. She'll swipe there. And that's really only if they don't have Apple Pay, which most stores today do. So very rare that we need to use the actual card. But anyway, what's cool is that Relay allows you to create a virtual debit card. It works the exact same way that a physical card does. You have your card number, your CVV, the expiration date, but the card only exists digitally. Now, the cool thing about this virtual card is that you create it instantly and then it's ready to use. So when we buy a new property and we create the account for it, we can literally start shopping for that property immediately because we don't have to wait 7 to 10 business days to allow for this debit card to show up in the mail. And the last thing I'll say about Relay, and this isn't really a feature, but it's more just something I like, is that it's an online bank first. There are no branches, it's totally online. And since they're not paying for a bunch of branches all around the country, they can afford to hire a lot more people for customer service. So when I call Relay, I can talk to a real human without pressing 47 different number combinations or screaming, speak to an agent into my phone. I pick up the phone, I call, and someone says, hey, this is Relay, how can I help you? They've also got an app and a website that's super intuitive, easy to use, and super well designed. Some of the other big legacy banks like Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America have just kind of clunky, poorly designed apps and websites. But when you log into Relay, it feels like it's a banking app made for modern times. So now that we've explained why you need these 5 bank accounts and what they're for, I'm actually gonna hop in front of my computer, share my screen, and show you exactly how to set up all of these accounts and use these features inside of Relay. All right, guys, so we are inside Relay. This is what it looks like once you've set up your account. Now, this is a dummy account. This isn't our real Relay account, so you could ignore these account numbers and whatnot. I just want to show you some of the features that I mentioned. So as you can see, what I have laid out here are those bank accounts that I mentioned. We have our income account. We have our OpEx account. We have our reserve account. We have our tax account. And we have our profit account. Now, what some people do, and you can do this if you want to, but you can name the OpEx account and then put the allocation percentage that you want to include, what you want that allocation percentage to be for that specific account. So I actually went through really quickly and updated the numbers here so that it all adds up to 100. But let's say for this specific property, I want 60% of my income to go to my OpEx, 10% to go to my reserves, 15% to go to my taxes, and another 15% to go into my profit account. So you can see I have the accounts laid out here. Now, if I want to add a new account, all I have to do is hit this add account button, and whatever I want this account to be, maybe I want this one to be, Johnny's Fun Money, whatever it is, right? Hit create account, and immediately that account is now created. So super easy to create new accounts. You can create them on the fly. There's no delay, no waiting time. Now, what I really want to show you, the really cool part is how to automate the transfers that I mentioned earlier. So if you come up to the top here under Move Money, hit that drop down. Here are the auto transfer rules. And guys, super, super cool. I'm telling you, it literally says profit first rule. So this bank is integrated to support profit first, which is the only bank I'm aware of that does this. So when you click on profit first rule, I'm going to name this profit first and frequency. Now we do this every month. So I'm going to go every month, and then we do it on the 25th. The book says 15th and 25th, but because we're real estate, I don't really feel the need to do it twice per month. So I do it once per month on the 25th. Now for my income account, remember, I want this to be at 0 at the end of every, on the 25th of each month. So I want to say, I want to keep $0 inside of my income account. That means all of the money inside the income account will now be dispersed across the other accounts that I have here. So let's hit the operating expense account first. And I want 60% to go there. And if you're over 100%, you'll see that it totals up here and you can't process it. But let's go to my next one here. I want my reserves at 10%. All right. After my reserves, I've got my profit, and that's gonna be at 15%. And then my last one here is my tax, and I want that at 15%. So now you can see I'm totaling up to 100%. Now remember, the income, the OpEx, and the reserve are all property specific, and then the profit and the tax are at your business level. Once you've got everything laid out here, you're at 100 for 100, hit create auto transfer rule, make sure everything looks good. You can see when it's going to run, create auto transfer rule. Profit first was successfully created. So now every single month on the 25th, I can see that this rule here is going to happen. So you don't have to take any steps to move that money. So that's the first piece. Incredibly useful way to automatically transfer the funds. Next thing I want to show you is the virtual card creation, because it's a really cool feature also. So on the left-hand side, I click on cards. I go to create cards, and you have the option between a physical and a virtual. Again, we typically do virtual. We'll always request a physical card anyway, just in case we need to swipe, but I'm telling you, we almost never use it. So virtual, we'll go next. Name the card, right? OpEx. Shared or individual, right? So if it's for one person, you can put a name on it, subscriptions and stuff. So whichever one you want. I'll go individual. Cardholder name, we'll go Bruce Banner. And then source account, what account is it tied to? This will be tied to our OpEx account. And if you want a spending limit, say you're creating this for a team member who shouldn't really be spending money all that often. Say you said, hey, I'm giving this to my cleaner, right? So she can buy supplies without having to come to me, but she shouldn't be spending more than $200 in a single day, and definitely not more than $500 in a single month. Now you can put those controls in there. And then when I hit next, confirm everything looks good, go create card, and boom, virtual card is created, activated, and ready to use. Guys, it's that simple to create your virtual debit cards. And then when you come to the screen, you're able to view the card details here. So it's an incredibly useful, easy way to create new cards on the fly. And I'm telling you, as soon as we set up a new property, we do this immediately. Last thing I'll show you here is actually two things. The payments. So again, one of the features that I talked about was the same day ACH payments. When you go to payments, you go to new payment, select whoever you want to send it to. And you have different options here. You have next day, same day, domestic wire, international, so on and so forth. I'll go same day. Now it's after the cutoff. There is a cutoff time you have to hit by, but I'm just going to select it here anyway. Choose the account you want it to send from, put the amount you want to send, put the memo, and you have to make sure you have the person's information inside of here. So like what account it's going to send to and all that good stuff. But you can honestly request this from that person, which is great. So when you create a new payee, and I'll actually show you how to do that really quickly. If I go new payee, say this is John Doe, email is johndoe@gmail.com. Account classification, I'll go business. No default memo there. Add payment. I want ACH transfer. And then you have the option here. Either you can enter the payment details if you have that information, or check that box, request payment details from this payee. So now when I hit create payee, it's going to send an email to John Doe, and he'll go to a secure link through Relay that allows him to enter in his own payment details. And then when I come here, it automatically fills in and I can process the payment there. And it shows up same day. Same day. So really cool feature. And then last thing I'll show you is just how to add team members. So you've got I don't know, like again, your cleaner is a good example, right? Maybe you want your cleaner for some reason to have access to here, you can add them there. But what we usually do is we have our advisors, right? So I'll add in, again, I'll go John Doe at gmail.com. Permission level. So I have all these different permission levels: bill payer, read only, manager, administrator, super administrator. So my overseas bookkeeper, she's read only. My bookkeeper here and my CPAs, they're super administrators because they need full access to a bunch of things inside of there. So you can invite people with different permission levels, and it makes it super easy to make sure your account is secured and people aren't able to dig around and do things they shouldn't be able to do. So that is the walkthrough through Relay. I hope you got some value from this. Again, guys, we love using this tool. I hope you end up loving it just as much as we do. All right, guys, so I hope you got some value from seeing that. Before we go, please connect with us on Instagram. I'm at Tony J. Robinson. My wife, who's not here today, is at Sarah Rad Robinson. If you're on TikTok, give us a follow at the Real Estate Robinsons. Now, again, guys, if you like what you heard and you'd like to get some more support, we've got a 100% in-person event happening June 23rd through the 25th in Denver, Colorado. The STR Summit. It's 3 days jam-packed with all things Airbnb, and it's a fantastic way to build your network, build your confidence, and give you that foundation to build this Airbnb business. So head over to strsummit.com. Again, use promo code WINNER, and you'll get a really big discount. So that's it for today, guys. I'm Tony. My better half here, who's not here, is Sarah, and we are the Real Estate Robinsons.